Trayse Inventory integrates with QuickBooks Desktop for Windows. In this video, I'll move customers, vendors, and items from QuickBooks to Trayse. There are a few things to note before importing. Define your data rules. Since there are two data systems, we need to determine where the truth version of the data resides. Changes to the data will only be made to the truth version and pushed to the other data system. In this example, QuickBooks contains the truth version of customers, vendors, and item information. Transactions will be created in Trayse Inventory and pushed back to QuickBooks. You may need to clean up data before running the import process. Inconsistent data or data in the wrong field is known as dirty data. Clean this up as much as possible so that you start the integration with the best data. If data does need cleaning, you may want to work with a smaller data set once it has been cleaned. Import order matters. Vendors must be imported before items. Customers can be imported at any time. Importing items does not include a bin location, since some versions of QuickBooks do not have this feature. That means that picking and put-away locations will need to be set in Trayse Inventory after the data has come over from QuickBooks. This only needs to happen once. Importing custom fields from QuickBooks is not part of the default process and requires customization. Now that we're ready to move the data, let's look at the files involved. First, we have QuickBooks Desktop for Windows. We are currently looking at the Customer Center with its list of customers. Second, we have Trayse Inventory. Here we are looking at the list of companies. We haven't imported any, so it is a blank list. Trayse Inventory stores customers and vendors in the same location, so both of those lists will appear here after import. And lastly, we have a file called QuickBooks Integrator. This is the command center for the movement of data between QuickBooks and Trayse Inventory. In this video, I'm going to focus on the right side of the layout, labeled Lists. There are three lists: customers, vendors, and items. Each list shows a data source, one for QuickBooks and the other for Trayse Inventory. Three columns indicate the total number of records in each data source for that list. It shows the number of records matching and the number of records not matching. We can refresh the columns using the refresh button at the bottom of the list. We can see the list by clicking the list icon and download the list from QuickBooks into this file by clicking the download button. Below the buttons is a timestamp of the last import. It's time to click the button and import the customers. The customer list from QuickBooks is now in the QuickBooks Integrator file. We can see the records listed on the left. On the right is an action item. In this case, the action is push, which means it will push this data to Trayse Inventory. We could do this one record at a time. A faster way is to filter the list and show all the records with the same action. When I do that, the Process All button becomes active. Pressing that button will perform the action in a batch. The customers are now in Trayse Inventory. I'll pull up the Trayse Inventory file and we can see the customer list. I'll continue this process with vendors and then items. Remember, vendors must be imported before items. This is to ensure that the preferred vendor information properly imports. To see the vendor information for an item, go to More, Vendors. Remember that each item needs its location set up. See the locations video in this series for more information. The last thing to demonstrate is making a change in the data. I'll use a customer record and change the address. Since QuickBooks is the truth version of the data, the address must be changed there and pushed to Trayse Inventory. After making the change, click the Import button. This time, I see all the records in both files, QuickBooks on the left and Trayse Inventory on the right. On the right-hand side, most of the records are marked with No Action. This indicates that nothing has changed since the last time we performed the import. However, one record is marked as Update. I've put Trayse Inventory in the background so we could see the address update when I click the Update button.